Hey guys, it's me, TheTacticalBrit, and as I promised, PC coverage will be a thing on this channel. More specifically, I thought today it would be quite nice to introduce CTE coverage as well. Now today we're going to be looking at a brand new update to the community map project, and this has been a concept which has been under lots of discussion and lots of changes over the last couple of weeks, especially now that the CTE is very much perking up in terms of numbers and opinions. Now this map has been purely designed by us members of the community, with ideas and concepts being thrown forward, and the recent update has added some new foliage, some new lighting, lots of other little features here and there. Unfortunately the patch notes aren't quite available, but you can see by the footage today that lots of things have changed about the community map. So as I mentioned, we're seeing a brand new texture pass, and we're seeing more specifically much more complexity with the foliage and lighting effects, and the minor details being perked up significantly more. Now, one of the most potent things that you're going to see when you jump into the map is in fact the underlying low level foliage, and this is a very small touch but very much adds to the overall depth and quality that we're kind of expecting this community map to produce. Now this foliage is completely interactive as well, so when you run through it, it will sway and move based on your interactivity. Now it may seem something minor and something we kind of expect as Battlefield players, but it's definitely the smaller details I believe that are going to bring the jungle map and the jungle scenery to life. And you have to kind of remember as well that because this map doesn't feature such significant levolution or anything in terms of significant building structures, it's kind of reliant on the smaller features really bringing it to life and captivating the overall feel. And I feel like at the moment this new texture pass is certainly moving towards that direction. I feel like more specifically the combination of textures, the lighting, and kind of the water effects as well, which has really caught my eye, have brought this map together now, and it's starting to really envision what the community wanted to see from this map and the overall effect that we wanted it to have. I feel like people weren't necessarily looking for this incredibly vast jungle with extensive foliage and lots of things going on, but kind of a combination between a war-torn battlefield and a jungle as well. And this does it really well. It combines the objectives, which feel a lot like war-torn battlefield objectives that we'd anticipate, with the overall surrounding of a very atmospheric and captivating jungle, and it kind of merges these two processes together to make a very satisfying map at the moment. After this most recent update, I'm starting to notice how the map is really complementing flow of play. Now, more significantly, I'm noticing how the surroundings of the map and the objective placements themselves are really coming to life. So, for example, there have been, in my opinion, from what I've seen, lots of cross-jungle battles, and this is occurring because the objectives aren't necessarily in very jungle-situated areas. They're kind of in their own corners, doing their own thing, but are interlinked between the jungle. And because of this, I'm starting to see people battling in and amongst these jungle areas whilst they travel to objectives, but also seeing a very good flow of movement between objectives. So for example, my favourite one at the moment is witnessing a team of players move from sea to the temple. Now the temple is essentially some kind of fortress, and you have to move across the water, so you can essentially attack it from the forest tree line before you actually move in. Now I don't know if these were intentional touches that were supposed to happen, but it really does kind of come together at the moment. I feel like infantry focused gameplay is going to be really good on this map. The infantry-focused gameplay hasn't been very much affected by the scale and tenacity that the jungle has. So despite the fact that the foliage in the land is quite vast and changes quite significantly, the flow of play between the jungle and between the objectives, in my opinion, has been really well done. And essentially what I've noticed as well is that it's kind of forcing players to use a lot more different approaches. Because there's hardly any cover except for hiding in the actual foliage itself, players aren't sitting still anymore. They're moving quite significantly and rapidly through the forest, and if they do wait or sit somewhere, it's because they have a relatively decent spot to hide. Now, I really like this approach to the gameplay because the lack of buildings really does encourage infantry combat. Now, it means that the scale of infantry combat is also a lot larger, so we're seeing a much higher player count, but it also means as well, what I've noticed, is that it's much more frequent, and you always have to be on your toes and be aware of your surroundings. In fact, whilst I was playing today, I actually had to hide in a bush, significantly hide in a bush of like 4 different plants to try and hide from about 12 different players. It was incredibly scary, it kept me on my toes. I didn't know whether I was going to survive or die, but it was just great fun overall, and I feel like this map really needs to kind of captivate that feeling. Now the new texture passes as well, I feel, are kind of showing the direction that the map is taking as well. Now Objective Charlie is a great example of this, because before it was quite difficult to see how this was going to be the pinnacle focus of the entire community map, but now after playing in it with these new textures, I can see how this is going to happen. Now Charlie is situated between 2 very much high ground areas, so teams moving from opposite objectives will have higher grounds to battle between each other to actually capture this C objective. Now below, once you get out of the jungle and off the higher ground, you are actually entering building to building combat of fully destructible buildings, which makes the C zone very much a place of mayhem, but also kind of structured mayhem. There's going to be a method to the madness. Now those people who can use the higher ground and jungle tree line to their advantage are going to find C a piece of cake to hold and also attack as well. But those people who get in and amongst the kind of real gritty gameplay of building to building combat are also going to have a great time too. And I can see now from the new update that C is going to be a very much fun objective to be around, but also one of quite significance and potency over the entire map. Now I thought I'd end this kind of video on some constructive criticism and feedback that I want to provide, and also a few things that I want to reassert as well. Now I feel like kind of a principal focus that I really wish stays the same for the community map project is that this is an infantry based map. I'm seeing people ask for attack helicopters and scout helis and tanks and stuff, and it's just like, that really doesn't suit the terrain and environment that this map is trying to provide. This should be an infantry map with helicopters purely for transport basis and buggies and motorbikes. It should be nothing more than that. Maybe the occasional LAV, but I really don't want to see any significance beyond those few vehicles. Now my final 2 wishes are to kind of improve the atmosphere of the map, and this is just 2 things that I've noticed. And the first one is to actually lower the brightness of the sunlight, because I've noticed that it's very much blinding and I feel like the map is kind of a bit too bright. Now in and amongst the trees I'm expecting really low levels of light. I'm not expecting to see really strong rays of sunshine, but also as well, if you have a slightly lower level of sunlight outside the trees, I think it would add to the overall feel of the map, giving it that kind of level of darkness and grittiness that people are looking for. And also I just think a darker jungle kind of environment is a lot more what a jungle should feel like. Now my final one is that I've noticed that there's been some high level mist in the backdrop, and that looks really nice, but I'd like to see as well some low level mist where the jungle kind of gets really dense and very much full of foliage. I feel like that would really add to the overall feeling too. So guys, it's been me, the Tactical Brit, and I hope you've enjoyed this update on the community map project. Now make sure if you're a console premium member or PC premium member that you try out the CTE and help with the overall feedback so we can improve Battlefield as a whole. And as I've mentioned before, there's going to be lots more PC coverage to come over the coming days, and I really need questions for my brand new series Question Time Tuesday, which is going to be continuing every Tuesday from now on in the comments section below. So any Battlefield related questions, feel free to sling my way. As always, it's been me, the Tactical Brit. Thank you for watching, fellas, and I'll see you again in another video.